Okay, this is just a random, odd video that something I have to fix, and since I had my tripod with me in my vehicle, I thought I'd capture it. You'll see a welder down there, and I'll tell you why in a minute. This is an edge bander where we work. We make cabinets, and it applies the banding. It's dusty. Applies the banding on the cabinet parts. We put them through, and it adds glue and trims it, and out the other end it's a finished piece. Sometimes we do it such that we end up scraping some of the glue off because the machine is rather old and the buffing station doesn't work quite right. So we do a little bit of trimming down there, let the machine do most of the trimming, then we just use a razor blade to scrape the rest off. So in this machine, there's a bunch of chain drives down here, and there's a main chain drive. It's kind of like a serpentine chain, kind of like in your vehicle, except this one's a chain, and it drives all the other mechanisms for the glue pot and the glue roller and some other items or other features of the machine. And it gets loose. The shaft goes up. The shaft there's a tensioner, and I'll show it. I'll show it in the next clip. There's a tensioner sprocket that has a shaft that goes up the machine, and there's an off-center cam on there that you turn to tighten up the slack in the chain, and then you tighten the lock nut to keep that in place. Well, that stays in place, but the shaft ends up loosening up over time and turning. And so I'm going to put a little tack weld on that shaft to keep it from turning. Let's see this. Do you see that droop in the chain back at the back there? Yeah, you don't want that. Can I see? It's hard to see. You can see by your eyes. It droops down probably, half inch or probably more. Actually, look at it. It's about 3/4 of an inch. It drops down from that cog over there over to the other, and it when it loosens up like that, it can come off or break. Currently, when we run the machine, sometimes as it starts up, you hear it kind of popping because the chain isn't engaging the sprockets properly. Now, this shaft here, and the flashlight's flickering. This shaft here, it's not supposed to turn. If you can see that, it goes up in there. I have not taken the machine apart that far to go up, but there's probably something up in there that's supposed to lock in place. And you have this off-center cam, tensioner pulley, well, not pulley, tensioner sprocket, that you turn it to where it tightens up the chain, and then you have this lock nut to tighten it down. Well, over time, the shaft turns because the machine, it vibrates, and over time it just loosens up again. So the solution is to I'm going to put a tack weld against that shaft and the mass of the machine. Nothing big, because just in case you for some reason you'd have to take that out, which I'm assuming if you're going to take the machine apart that far, the shaft is going to come up through that hole with the upper part of this machine, because it's bolted together right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's going to be connected to this part of the machine. I doubt we will ever take the machine apart. We'd likely get a new machine before we take it apart that far. This is a SCM Basic 2 edgebander. It was built in 1992 in Italy. Anyway, that's the solution for this. What I'm going to do, you'll see in the video, is instead of retightening this nut for now, I'm going to put a pipe wrench on here or a wrench on here, depending on what I find first, and I'm going to turn that shaft till it tightens up the chain again, and that's where the shaft needs to be, because this stays in place, the lock nut stays in place, but the shaft turns. So I'm going to do it that way. You can see that better. Tighten that up. Now I'm going to turn this to bring that shaft back where it's supposed to be. The chain looks good. Of course, it's so greasy, I don't want to touch it. I'm going to get a paper towel. Hoping to, I always have to get my hands dirty in this machine. I'm hoping that I can do this without having to get checking the tension. Feels pretty good. You don't want it too tight, but you don't want it very loose. That again. That looks pretty good. Okay, this is not a video about welding. It's not a video to teach you how to weld. I've got a MIG welder here, and if you're watching this video and you don't know how to weld, then this project isn't for you. But you can take it and you can find somebody who does know how to weld, and they can do it for you. So with that disclaimer, I'm just going to get to it. I'm assuming that those watching already know how to weld, so I'm not going to get into that. There's all the safety things that you do. There's a lot of grease around here, and there will likely be a little fire in here when I weld. Maybe not, but I'm gonna drape a rag over the chain to keep the possible spatter from the weld getting on the sprocket or messing up the chain. Now this rag might catch fire, but you know, we're in a shop. We got a concrete floor. This is a metal machine. I'll be able to, if it does catch fire, I'll be able to take it off, blow it out. And I got gloves on, so here we go. I found a place that I think will act as a ground. Most of this machine is painted, so I did find a place that had a part that was bolted to the machine that wasn't. And we'll see how it works. Okay, something's wrong with the welder. Hold on. Okay, so it turned out that the prop on the fan that keeps the transformers cool and the welder has broke off. But since we're not going to be doing any major welding, we're gonna say it's gonna be okay, because we're just gonna do a tack weld. So let me turn the machine back on. Hopefully that ground that I have is is contacting enough to for me to get a get current flow here. Looks like it. Okay, let me see if I can see whether or not it looks pretty good. A nice tiny little tack weld. Yeah, there's a little smoldering smoke from the grease down there, but I guess the true test would be to put the wrench on it and see if I can turn it. If I can't, we're successful. Looks pretty good. All right, let me turn the welder off. Let me put this wrench on here, see if it's holding in place. Of course, I don't want to break it, right? I'd say it's probably, I think it's probably good. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Well, if we ever have to get through there, a little Dremel tool, if we have to take the machine apart, a little Dremel tool should be able to cut through that little weld, and we should be in business if we ever have to do that. So, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.